And I will just quickly introduce this seminar. So this seminar will be presented by the learning team of the House of European History. It's really a pleasure for me to having them here running this seminar. They developed thematic online resources for educators and students to connect the teaching of European history to our contemporary world. And they will introduce us to these resources and to what they have been developing to what they have been developing. So some instructions for interaction in this seminar. You can express your emotions, express yourself through these icons, and you can also freely comment in the chat, and I'll try to moderate all your comments and questions when the time comes. If you have problems with sound, well, I hope that you don't have any more. We already had some time to solve the sound issues, and I will now introduce our two experts. So, our first expert, I will try to pronounce your name correctly. Sorry if I don't. So, it's Taya Volk van Gaal, and she's an historian and sociologist and a museum advisor. And she's currently the creative director of the House of European History. And with her, I have Laurence Braga, and she's the school responsible of the House of European History's learning team. She also helped develop a wide range of educational offer to be used online or on site for students from 6 to 18 years old. So I will now hide my presentation and give them the floor because you are here to listen to them and to their wonderful presentation. So thank you once more, Laurence and Taya, for being here with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So I can just say that, 35 years ago, we had the technical problems as well. Usually it was with the slide projector. So historians and technology, well, maybe this should be one of the discussions in the future. So because we are running a little bit late, uh, can you go on, or who can go on with the slides? Oh, you. So if you can put slide 3, please. I would appreciate that. So basically, I will really go very fastly through the main facts and figures about the House European History, which is a new museum opened last year in Brussels, and which, from many points of view, it's a rather unique museum. Um, in a way, the whole project is interesting, although not so interesting because they usually have been more projects like us, and that is initiated by the politicians. So the House European History has been first mentioned in 2007 in February by then President of the European Parliament, Hans-Gert Pöttering, and in a way, this whole process has been, as said, finished last year. So within 10 years, a new museum was built and built from scratch. And the first years, there were many, many activities to get the political support, to get financial means, to get the building, and then in 2011, the academic project team for establishing the content of the House European History started its work, and I was leading this project from the beginning. What is actually our museum? And if you can move a slide further, um, it is really a museum. It's a history museum, but it doesn't only show phenomena and processes of which have shaped Europe today, but it is also giving a kind of a bird eye view because we are not presenting the sum of national histories. So it is really about seeing the last 200 years through the processes and phenomena which I mentioned have shaped Europe with a very modern museological approach and different tools. So it is also nice or essential to mention that this is not a museum about the European Union history, and it is not limited to European Union members. We are covering the whole continent, including all countries, and also presenting the material, the objects which support our narrative from 33 countries from Europe. It is also that our museum is not meant for academics, for historians, and for museum professionals. Our aim has always been to make it understandable in a very simple but not simplistic way, in a very rich way to a so-called unpopular term, general public. So our museum actually gives an opportunity for very many different interpretations of those of European history in last 200 years, or we can say from prehistory in short. But it also asks many more questions than maybe giving the answers, because we are making interpretation, but we are opening these interpretations to every and each of our visitors. Because if you come from, let's say, Poland and you are 80 years old, your perspective is very different probably than from somebody who is 20 coming from Portugal. So what is our aim if we go one slide further? We don't, a little bit further, yes, we don't want to teach. This is a forum for informal learning to arouse curiosity, to increase knowledge, and, as I said, to raise questions and create opportunities to reflect on European history from today's perspective. And when we started making this museum, from the very beginning of when team came together in 2011, it was very easy decision to be made that the informal learning will be the core of the activities for the future House of European History. Everything what we have done, we have been thinking from the point of view how to serve the public and how to enable our public to learn, to become curious and to ask questions. So if you can go one further. So what are we? Well, we are, I would say, a full, really blooded museum. We have our permanent exhibition, which in a way is changing on daily basis, because we have from 1,500 objects, about 1,000 objects borrowed from more than 200 museums across Europe and the world. And because they are given on loan, it means that in a way they change frequently, which means that every day or every month a new perspective through the objects and the layer of their information is added. We have temporary exhibitions. Now the first one is nearly finished, but the beginning of next year we are opening one which might be really interesting also for teenagers, and it is called The Restless Youth. It will talk about the young generation in Europe after 45. We are planning traveling exhibition because we would like to outreach with our objectives and our ideas and mission. We have been publishing publications, and 2 weeks ago we published, well, I would say this was a book of my dreams, a new book which tells how we actually made this museum. And it might be interesting for teachers, of course, as well. So we have an online offer, although obviously sometimes technical problems might occur. We are trying to be really a vivid debate centers, presenting and reflecting European history from many different points of view. We have been building partnerships with different associations and institutions in last 7.5 years. And as said, the learning programs, I I'm very much proud of the results of work of my colleagues, and I think that in practice this is a very good starting point to develop them further. Well, Laurence is taking care of my minutage. So one further, a slide which shows how our exhibition space and the museum is formed. Well, probably you are rather young, but I'm sure you are not as old as me, and I can tell you that, of course, it can give a lot of physical exercises before you go up, but we have also the elevators. So now, very shortly, if you can go on with some core thinking behind our museum. Currently, a debate about the European identity is very much in. It seems that you can encounter it all the time. And we gave a lot of thinking in 2011 how to tackle the European identity. Well, we decided not to actually use it. Instead of European identity, which we took as a top-down approach, we decided to embed in our thinking and our exhibition, especially the permanent exhibition, a concept of memory, because we thought that we can come together easier if we present and discuss what can we share or what do we share in Europe, but also things which still divides us not only in Europe but also in different countries. So from that point of view, from this perspective, we started to create very critical analysis and experiences and, as I said, the multiple perspectives, perceptions and interpretations. And we also wanted, well, at that time, the concept of memory in a wider public hasn't been so popular as it is now. This year of the Year of Cultural Heritage, everything is about the stories, personal stories, family stories. So it is important also for us to raise awareness and the relevance of memory, which can be very, of course, personal, very subjective, very often manipulated, but it gives a lot of food for thoughts. So if we go further with the slide, well, I already mentioned the bird's eye view of Europe. And you can imagine that in June 2011, we had 330 topics we wanted to put it on the exhibition. But having a visitor in our mind, we know that 1 hour and a half is already too much to stay concentrated. So our exhibition gives a kind of the bird's eye perspective, but it gives also a very special vertical specific stories, and it is very structured. Our most, in a way, dedicated visitor actually stayed in our museum from Monday at 1 till Friday 6, and he claimed that he went through everything, every single text, every single sign, and every single topic. So I would say that these are rare dieharders, but we are trying to enable our visitors to get either the guided tours or information on things they are mostly interested in. And now I'm nearly finished. We are gathering our collection with European relevance. Every item on our exhibition has a story, and some of them are very personal. We got them from families of people who, in a way, survived either Holocaust or the First World War or the latest revolutions in Europe in '89. And I would say that, as we usually hear, our exhibition is somehow a mixture demanding a lot of intellectual effort, but also gives strong emotional impulses. So we go on with next, just to give you a picture of the objects, the museums, and 37 countries from which we made the contact, and from 33, as I said, we received objects as well. And on. I think this might be interesting since the learning programs are today in focus. From the very beginning as well, we were very much aware that our exhibition topics are rather heavy, I would dare to say. You know, especially the 20th century with 2 world wars, with crises, with dictatorships, totalitarian regimes. The exhibition, the permanent exhibition, is not so much in favor to be visited by smaller children. It is from 11 years onwards. So we decided to implement into our permanent exhibition, as a part of it, a so-called family trail, where actually children deal with rather difficult topics, but apparently in the way they can understand and they can also respond. I would say that this family trail, which well, has been installed only recently, will contribute a lot to the visit of our museum by families, well, meaning not only parents and children, but also grandparents and grandchildren, in sharing that memory I mentioned already in the future. And now I am at the end. If we can go all, as every new museum, we received positive remarks, but also the critical remarks. I would dare to say that, in a way, the enthusiasm and the very excellent remarks on our work, in a way, are in majority. However, as a museum which wants to receive criticism to be able to improve, we are also, in a way, study very much the criticisms. If you can go on. The criticisms were mostly coming from platform of European Memory and Conscience from Poland. And in a way, well, even if we want to discuss that this criticism is mostly really, in a way, taken from the inserts of the exhibition and taken out of the context. However, being very open also to the criticisms, we, in a way, discuss that, and we, wherever it is possible, of course, we get and add extra information. We are very cautious about the potential failures in translation. Our museum is available in 24 languages, so the criticism in our museum is welcomed and, in a way, very, I would say, seriously taken into consideration. So, and now the last one. Well, we are looking in the future, and in the future, we see our museum as a kind of a connector, also as an initiator and a facilitator for different common projects, be it in with the academic world, being with museum world, and of course in a very strong connections as from the beginning with different networks and associations of teachers, because we also believe and we still remember how in a way heavily the influence of good storytellers and examples could be to form yourselves. Just before I say final goodbye and to say to give my space to Laurence, I would just like to say that I belong to a generation born not that long after the war. So my first history teacher was a survivor from Auschwitz. My father was surviving as a mobilized German soldier the Russian front. My grandmother was put in a row to be shot as a hostage by a German army, but it was a German officer who pulled her out after a lot of cry of 4 small children. So I would just like to say that the memories are always part of our identity, and that in a way sharing it and not judging it, but in a way talk about it is one of the most important things where museums can really influence the future and bring something good to new generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Taya. Do you have any questions for Taya before Laurence continues? You can write them on the chat. We can take one or two. Yes, it was indeed impressive. Thank you so much for sharing this. In the beginning of your presentation, there was someone asking if they could visit. How could they visit the museum? Could you give some instructions, maybe?
Yes, well, I don't know how I managed to forget that everybody, of course, is absolutely welcome, and we hope that we can welcome you, because if you contact us, we will take our time because your visit will be very much important, and as well as your opinion. Well, at the moment, well, we are in Brussels. We are open 7 days per week, and we are still trying to find out how, in a way, to make our the visits to our museum in a way more easier and in a way more available.
Thank you, Taya.
And,
Also,
and we don't have any entrance fee.
oh, excellent. Okay. Taya, there's another question about your team, if it's composed from people from all European countries. And I think this is the last question before we go to Laurence.
Okay. Well, in a way, it is very interesting the fact that in 2010 there was a kind of a call for academic team across Europe. So we all applied, and we were well, some of us, we were actually accepted. It was not the approach that every country should have one representative. And we were from 17 countries. Well, we grew. We started 3 of us, and then the number grows. But that really, me as a manager and responsible for the content, I decided to have a very horizontal managerial style. So the first months and then through years, I would say that we managed to cut the baggages which made a narrow view, being, from different historiographical schools, very much branded from our national historiography, and then with exchanging and actually going through all latest literature in all languages, because we spoke all European languages nearly. We managed to get this view and also critically discuss. So I would say, as a kind of a good example of a good practice, that being together, actually we were together in really one room and working together, this practice creates a new level of thinking and viewing, which can give then, in a way, unexpected results.
Thank you very much, Taya. And again, before we go to Laurence, one last question. You will give your contact, right, at the end of this seminar to every participant that want to reach you and contact you and see if they can visit you, right? Okay, so Andrea is asking if he can visit you in certain dates, but I'm sure that maybe he can use that specific contact that we will share after the seminar, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you
So,
so much.
and now, well, I really think that Laurence will engage you more in our learning activities, and I would like to thank everybody, and I'm looking forward to meet all of you. So, bye bye.
Thank you, Taya.
Thank you, Taya. Thank you, Ruth. Welcome to everybody. So, about the learning approach, so which is also the themes that I will represent right now. I will try to move the slides, but yeah, it works. So for the online learning offer that's been developed at the House of European History, of course, since the beginning, we knew that the museum can be accessible to some teachers coming with students, but that our website could be accessible by a lot of teachers all around Europe, but also outside of Europe. So immediately we decided to take a big focus on the online offer available on our website. At the moment, it's available in 4 languages, but we have the resources in the 24 official languages of the European Union. So, and this was very important for us. We also, as Taya may have say, the approach in the museum is chronological. But in the learning team, we decided to develop um, worksheets and guided tours inside the museum around the chronology. But for the website, we decided to work on a thematic approach. And actually, we also use this thematic approach for the workshops that we give in the museum. And this thematic approach is based on 5 topics. First, migration. Second, identity. Third, conflict. 4, human rights. And the last one, communication. And with these 5 topics, we developed the online resources, and those that we are going to present today. And these online resources, they have multiple objectives. First, it's a real toolbox for teachers, because we intend to, we cannot please the curricula, the national curricula, because there are too many and too different. So again, this thematic approach, it's a toolbox that teachers can take, can get inspired, can adapt, can use and appropriate it and make it grow also as their own database and exchange with us also. Another objective is to explore the key message of the museum, of course, and to use them for an interdisciplinary approach, because we don't talk only to history teachers, we talk to citizenship, we talk to geography, we talk to language classes, we talk to French or to mathematics also. So it's a way for different teachers to find in the resources something that will be suitable to support the creation of their lessons. We always start with contemporary context. And also when we visit the museum, when I do the guided tours with the students, I start with the upper floor, which is about Europe today and the future, and then I go down in the museum to create connections between the present contemporary world and the past. And for the online approach, we also have that. You have some exercises that are about contemporary world, and then we have exercises that are about the past to create this link between the past and also to trigger the interest of students about history. We analyze the role that history plays in our modern world, and the central aim is to develop the critical and creative skills of the user. It's the questioning approach, asking questions to students, let them react, let them answer, give them what they know, and then we start and we build around this questioning approach. So where can you find our online resources? So for the 4 languages, French, English, German, and Dutch, which are the 3 national languages in Belgium plus English, you can download them right now after this seminar on our website. Now it's important that you go to the Historia, / in the middle, europa.ep.eu. Because if you just Google House of European History, you may end up on the websites of the Parliament, because we are a project from the European Parliament, and then you will not find the online resources. So it's important that you really copy-paste or Google House of European History and pay attention that you get Historia / in the middle Europa in your URL, but we will share that also. If you want to receive these online resources in the 20 other official languages, you may either wait for a couple of more months that the website will be launched in 24 languages, or email us the Historia / in the middle learning at ep.europa.eu, and we will send them to you via WeTransfer. So that's also. Maybe, Ruto, can we share the screen so that I can go on the website to show where it is?
Sure. Can you go to the top bar, click on pods, then share and add a new share?
Forgot where it is. Can you make the shared screen appear on
Sure.
mine? Because we, in the
Sure,
test, I couldn't
no problem.
find it. Sorry.
A new share. So you should be able now to.
Yeah.
I will increase the size of the screen, okay? So
with all the things we did during the, sorry, it's been broken, but I will.
you need to give us some seconds because the image is loading. Yeah. Yes,
You tell
of
me
course.
when it's ready.
It's still loading. It's taking some time.
Do you want, because otherwise you can do that after the,
Okay.
we can skip this because we're running a little bit out of
So
time.
can you click on stop sharing?
Should we?
Yes. Okay. I will hide now this screen to go back to your slides. Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sorry about this, but I guess you can all copy paste this. So when you are on the House of European History webpage, you go to the Discover section. There you will find education and teachers, and inside this bar, you can see it on my presentation here, you will find activity for your classroom. This is where you will find the online resources. And okay, so how to use the resources? They are all structured the same way, the 5 of them. First, an introduction with an overview of the themes and definitions. Then you have 3 separate sections. Each sections are treating the theme but under a different approach. Inside each sections you have teacher's notes. This is your toolbox. This is with the activities that, the suggested activities that you can use in your classrooms with your students. For every activities, you will have the name of one resource with a number, and these resources, you can print them to share them with your class, or sometimes the resources can also be a film, or, and for every video clip that we have, we did a transcription. Most of them are in English, but not all. And we send the transcription to the translation. So you have the translation of this video clip in the 24 video clip in the 24 languages. For today's presentation, I didn't use any video as an example of activity because it takes 5 to 10 minutes to watch the video to understand what the exercise is about. But we actually have quite a lot of those videos in the learning, the online resources. Just to give you an idea of the amount of material that we are suggesting to you and presenting to you today, we are, so the 5 online resources, it represents, if you print everything, 232 pages, 65 exercise. Every activity, every theme has more or less 15 different exercises. And when you go on the website, it's 97 PDF that you can choose. So you can navigate. You can go in one section for one theme, and you don't necessarily need to download everything. So you can really come back and take what is interesting for you at the time of the year, considering your lesson plans. So the first theme that I wanted to present, it's called Hawks and Doves, Conflicts. Conflicts, you can see the 3 sections. How do conflicts develop? Second, the human cost of conflict. And third, what does it take to make peace? We don't have, as you may have noticed, one theme which is about Europe. Because for us it was not relevant, because all our theme are talking about Europe. And as Taya was mentioning, we are not just a museum about the European Union or about the European integration. Of course, we do speak about this a lot, and we talk about Europe in every theme. And this is also the purpose of this online thematic approach, is to talk about topics which are really linked to the history of Europe, but to make it interesting for students. I don't know if you've tried, but the minute you start talking about European integration, people are already bored. If you talk about migration, then immediately everybody wants to know more. But it has an impact. So we talk about European integration within the different themes, and this I let you discover more. For the exercise today, for this presentation, I picked one exercise. So of course, it's one among 15. So it doesn't represent the whole resources, but still I thought I could give you a sneak overview about what we have online. For the conflict section, I chose an activity which is a debate, the European Union, a peace project, because in the exhibition we have the Nobel Peace Prize medal on show, and in this activity we suggest that you divide your class into 2 groups. One that will say that it's a good thing that that the Nobel Peace Prize was given to the European Union, and the other one that it was not a good idea. The documents that we suggest you distribute to your class are like 5 documents that you can see here at the bottom of my slide, pro or against. Of course, this can be developed further by students. You can ask them to go and come back with more examples, and from the press, from images, so this can really be the start of an activity, but we always deliver it as we think it can be already used, but you're welcome, of course, to develop that. The next theme that I wanted to develop, human rights, with 3 sections: my rights, your rights, and the right in action. And the activities I chose for you today comes from the 3rd section, which is called right in action. It's a creative activity where you can ask your students, you tell them that they're responsible for the marketing campaign around a specific rights. And they must do the whole thing: the media planning, the social media, the banners, the badges, the planning, the budget. They can write songs, so they're really responsible of the whole campaign. We do this exercise also in the House of European History, in the workshop offer, where we treat about human rights. And with the workshop, we also have a learning collections with objects that are historical objects. And for this human rights workshop, we work in collaboration with Buchenwald, and the learning team of Buchenwald, they also use those objects for their workshop. And we first start with by introducing students, and we did it this year with 10 years old students, so quite young, but it's the first introduction to the Holocaust, to the Shoah. Then we introduced the list of rights that people are deprived from in the camp. Then we talk about the Declaration of the Human Rights. We talk about the law courts. And then we go to the museum and we see the different sections about this here, the House of European History. And to finish this guided workshop, we ask them to be the responsible for a campaign and to give us a banner, a poster representing one right. And I can guarantee that the drawing that they made at the end of this workshop, those 10 years old children were just amazing. It's really powerful, very creative. So it's an activity that we like to do a lot here for the workshops. The next theme that I want to present is migration. Of course, when we were preparing the museum, it was in 2015 and before and after, but because the museum opened exactly a year ago, but the migration was a real hot topic, still is today. So the three sections, why is migration such a hot topic for the 21st century? Second, experiencing migration, a person at the heart of every story. And third, media reporting on migrants and migration. And the exercise I chose for you is from the second section, and it's testimonies from the past. So again, as a reminder, in every theme we talk about present situation and we introduce past examples. So it depends from the activities. For you today, I chose one activity from past migration from the 19th century, where students need to analyze documents and letters written by migrants coming from Europe to America. And those testimonies, well, they are from, for example, one person from today's Czech Republic describing his journey. The second document is from a Poland father writing to his daughter to give her traveling instructions. The third document is from a friend describing how the working conditions in the States are to a friend from home, of course. And the last document is from a woman to her sister in Finland. Also, the three first examples are from the end of the 19th century, and the last one is from 1938. So you can see how we tried also to make them analyze documents and then, of course, make the link with today's situation in other activities. Then the fourth theme is communication. How is the information age changing our world and lives? Second, information technology as tool of empowerment. And third, information technologies as tool of manipulation and control. For this, I chose this activity, which is based on the analysis of image with this very straightforward image to analyze for students, very relevant today as well, that is linked in other activities with some video clip, but I didn't choose for you. So technology to rescue, and of course, so you have the introduction. This is the first part of my slide. Then you have the image, and then you have the questions that are related to the image. Every image, we also purchased the copyright. So we did a lot of work to clear the copyright, so that it's perfectly free for you to use them as long as you mention the House of European History, but you can really download everything without any problems. Then the last theme is identity. What's my identity? How are identities formed and maintained? And we and the others, the identity includes and excludes. For this exercise, I chose the one which is linked to an object from the House of European History collection, which is called the Joseph Code. And this Joseph Code, it's like a biographical map of a survivor from the camp, from the Holocaust. It's been made by an artist called Ritula Frankel, whose father was a camp survivor, and when she became an adult and an artist, she worked with her husband and collected memories from her father and printed those images and family images on a coat that belonged to her father. On the left hand side, you can see images from him at work. On the right hand side, there are images from the family, and at the back, there are images from his life as a child, and in fact, you have barely one or two images. So we are asking students to reflect on how a survivor of very hard event, well, sometimes they prefer to forget, sometimes they need to communicate, sometimes it's the second generation, and why is that? So hence the theme, remembering or forgetting. It's also an object that we use a lot when we do the guided tours with students, because we can reach out and discuss about a lot of important elements around this object. It's also a way, because we're really trying to do intergenerational approach of history and encourage students to go back home and think about their personal history and interview elderly people. It's also something that we are developing here, these intergenerational tours where we have students and elderly people in the same group interacting, and the transfer of information is very important, and this is everything that also this code is conveying. Now this is of course a short presentation of the five themes. Ruta, would you like, because 3 years ago we participated to the eTwinning conference here in Brussels, and we tested, because at that time the museum was not opened yet, so we tested the migration online theme, and we interviewed some teachers at the end of the conference. So here it's a minute and a half of a teacher.
My name is Conor Galvin. I'm an academic. I work in a university in Dublin, Ireland, and I work extensively with teachers who are in training.
So from your perspective as a teacher trainer, can you tell us what you thought of the workshop today and of the resources that we gave you to work with? How did you like them? How do you think you could use them in your professional practice? And how do you think teachers could use them in the classroom?
Okay, well, at the workshop it was absolutely excellent. The materials are as good as I've seen. They are really good materials, very flexible. They open up a lot of possibilities. We could do 1,000 different things. So in terms of whether I could use them with my students, absolutely. And I would see them having no problems at all taking those materials and using the suggestions that are in the booklet and building out from those to make really, really interesting projects.
I would also be interested to know what you think of the transnational approach we've tried to put in these resources. They will be available in all the languages of the EU. Do you think that, can you see them used in transnational projects and used across countries, across curricula? How do you think that would work?
Okay, well, again, we had a very mixed group. We had 6 in our group, and they came from various parts of Europe. Nobody seemed to have any problems with the content, the focus, the framing of the work. So I think they would transfer very, very well into transnational projects. They have a nice, open, flexible feel, and they can be used in different ways by different teachers within different systems.
Well, the aim of this video was to show someone else talking about the resources. I also forgot to mention 2 little things. For me, I've been working most of my life in museum creating materials for students, but what is really unique in this project was that I was working with people from all around Europe to develop those online resources, and that we were discussing and we were listening to the other's point of view and including examples from all around Europe, from the north, the south, the east, the west, and finding a way to present new material and sharing our experience, international experience. So this is one point. And the other thing that I want to mention, it's mostly intended to be used for secondary school, so 12 to 18 years old. But we had a lot of teachers from primary school, so 6 to 12, telling us there are many creative activities. So they liked also to get inspired from these online resources to adapt them in the classroom for the students. So this is really why I think we can say that it can be made available from the 6 to the 18 years old. So this is the end of the presentation of the online offer. I think the best at this stage will be for you to go on our website or to send us an email with a request to get the resources in the other languages. And I wanted to also present a little bit what we do at the museum. So you already heard about the workshop offer, which is called Out of the Display Case, where we use real historical objects that we purchased especially for the learning team to present those different themes to students and then go to the museum and then do a creative activity. We have, of course, guided visits from the permanent and temporary exhibitions. We also have some worksheets activity in 4 languages. All the offer in the museum is in 4 languages. Because it's very difficult to have a team of well-trained guides in the 24 languages. So this is really, at the moment, what we have, this very strong offer, but in 4 languages in the museum. We have activity sheets based on a general approach of the museum. It's called Find, Analyze, and Discuss. And a second activity sheet, which is called Learn about the EU in 12 Steps, which concentrates on the European integration, trying to make it engaging, and we got some very good feedback from teachers up till now. These activity sheets can be downloaded on our website, but if you come with your students in the museum, they are available for free and they wait for you at the reception when you arrive in the museum. And yeah, so for those of you who wanted to know more about the museum, so it's based in Brussels, Rue Belliard, so it's not far from train station, from underground metro station. We are open 7 days a week, not on Monday morning, otherwise we open all the time, with some exceptions that you will find here. Admission, guided tours, workshop are free. You have here contact details from the Historia Learning and a website again. So, well, this is the end of my presentation, and I'm of course available for all your questions.
Thank you so much. It was very inspiring. The activities are really, really interesting. And I've seen some comments on the chat. It's a lot of food for thought, a lot of resources to explore. So I think it was very, very, very interesting, very helpful. So the floor is now open for some questions. Do you have any questions or comments for Laurence before we finish the seminar? Thank you so much for the positive feedback on the chat. I think the questions will come when they start using the resources, Laurence, maybe.
Well, we are remaining available. We will also do teachers programs where we will invite teachers from all around the world, Europe, at a later stage. So we are willing to get a lot of feedback about our learning resources because this is the first version. So we will grow out of this, but we need feedbacks now. So yes, well, you have the contact details. You can say and write there and say that you attend this seminar and that you have a question, and it will be my pleasure to answer them and then to meet maybe one of you soon and welcome you at the House of European History.
This is excellent. So you're more than welcome to use the contact. All the information that was shared during the seminar, including the direct URLs to the resources, will be shared tomorrow in an email message to all of you. So you will be the only ones receiving this information. And also the contact details will be there and the URL to the video that we were not able to show you today. No, you don't need to write your emails here. So somebody is asking if they can copy the materials for free, Laurence.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No charge. Please credit the House of European History. So this is very important. If you reuse any of this exercise, and never hesitate to contact us when you're doing this because we can be of help. So
Somebody's also asking who is the founder of the museum.
So the project was launched by Hans-Gert Pöttering, who was the former president of the European Parliament. And during his introductory speech in 2007, he said that he wanted to have a House of European History. So 10 years later, we opened here in Brussels. So it was his idea. We owe him all this.
Thank you very much. So is there any other comments or questions to Laurence? Thank you so much, Tanya, for your feedback. So if there are no more comments or questions, again, we will send you all the information by email tomorrow. So you will be able to contact the House of European History at any time, and Laurence will reply to your questions and your requests. And we will also send you certificates for attending this seminar. And before we go, I would like to just give a special thank you to Laurence and Taya for being here today. It was really, really a pleasure to share all this knowledge to the eTwinning community, with the eTwinning community. So thank you once more for your availability and for your work. And before we go, I would like just to remind you that we will have more seminars like this. And just keep an eye on the professional development page on eTwinning Live and join us for the next seminar. Thank you so much for being here on time, for bearing with us with the sound problems. And I think it was very useful and very fruitful seminar today. Thank you, and see you in the next seminar. Thank you, Laurence, again.
Thank you, and see you all in the next seminar, of course, with pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye and have a nice evening.
Bye.